Hello, welcome to 3D Vermont, 4th training session. In today's training, I'm going to show you how to prepare a building for print, plus do some easy additions if you have SketchUp Pro. So, from where we left off, I took the roof that was off this and put it back to the actual existing roof on this building. So now we need to find out if this building is printable. And from the first video, we installed some tools called Solid Inspector and Solid Inspector 2. So I'm going to click on Solid Inspector 2. This shows you all of the issues that you have in your building. And it says 2 surface borders, 181 internal face edges, and 3 nested instances. The nested instances usually refer to the map that's underneath, and you can delete that to get rid of that, as well as a couple of other pieces within the model. So we're going to focus more on internal face edges. We can click Fix All, and it will say some errors cannot automatically be fixed. Manually inspect and correct the errors, then run the tool again. So that didn't fix anything there. So the other tool, Solid Inspector 1, shows you exactly where the errors are, and it puts circles where everything is. For fixing buildings, I like to be on the inside of the building. So I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to hide the map, and then I'm going to hide the floor of the building. And then from in here, we're going to use Solid Inspector again. And you're going to see that it set up this whole section here. This is where we need to make everything open. Inside a 3D model, you basically want to be able to put as much liquid as possible into it. So if there's any extra faces, you need to delete those faces to make it printable. So I'm going to use the Erase tool, and I'm going to erase these lines in between, because these are the parts that we bumped out. And you'll notice once I start erasing these extra lines, it starts hollowing out this edge. So if I do Solid Tools again, it shows that the red lines around these, but the top is no longer. So I'm going to work my way down, and you have to get each of the lines. Usually if you click it right in the right spot, you can get all 3 of them at once. And sometimes you may have to do this for a window or for a door casing, where you have to go inside and erase any of the faces that you may have inside the building so you can make it hollow for printing. And down here you'll notice there's a few extra things that are happening, and we've got a piece here that is inside the model, but it doesn't show outside because it's this bar that goes all the way inside to the corner. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you another tool that you should probably do before you start deleting everything. I'm going to go to Edit, Unhide, so we can see the whole model, and then I'm going to triple click. From here I'm going to right click and choose Intersect Faces with Selection. This will make it so any line that goes within another face of a line, you can delete it without affecting your building. So I'm going to go back ahead, and I'm going to hide the floor plan, and then I'm going to hide the base of the building. And then zoom into the area we were just working on. Now I should be able to erase these lines without infecting the outside of the building. So when we orbit around the outside, that's still there. If we hadn't intersected the faces, it would have deleted this bump out. So now we can go back inside the building. We can use Solid Inspector, and we can see that there's just one little section left over here. So we can erase this line. Use Solid Inspector again, and the corner of that building doesn't have any circles. We've got a few over here, so I'm going to start with this little circle here, find out where this issue is. I'm going to go outside the building. Sometimes the circles don't end up where you expect them to be, so it looked like it was in that window, but it's actually in the base of this column. So I'm going to click on the column and I'm going to hide it. And then you'll notice there's a face there. I'll rotate. And we can just delete that face because we want everything hollow. And now I'm going to edit, unhide last, and it puts the column back, and we'll see if that fixed it. Okay, so that circle's gone. Now we have 2 circles left. So we need to figure out where those problems are. I'm going to go back inside, and this one looks like where one of the problems is. So I'm going to do Solid Inspector, and it looks like we can do the same thing we did on the front. We just need to hollow this out because this is our overhang. So I'll undo that so you can see. So if I erase this line over here and then erase this line here, now we should be pretty good with the Solid Inspector. So that one's all clear. So there's one red circle left. So I'm going to orbit around, zoom out a little bit. And you'll get used to zooming in and out frequently with this. So I'm going to do Solid Inspector one more time. And from here, it looks like there's some extra points inside this building. So I'm going to, this may have been something that I messed up when I was making the model where I changed something. So I'm just going to erase these extra lines and then do Solid Inspector and see how it looks. And it looks like one more where we can heal the surface here. And we'll do Solid Inspector again. And one more line over here. And this one, I'm going to have to do it a couple times to see exactly where it is. So it looks like there's a line here. And for this, I'm actually going to turn, because it creates a red line and I'm having trouble see it. So I'm going to go back and do color all the same, and then I'm going to do Solid Inspector to see where that red line shows up. And it shows up on the edge of this, so that means that out here we've got a little bit of an issue in here. So I'm going to hide this and see what we can come up with. Okay, so I'm going to unhide. I'm going to zoom around the outside and erase this line. Erase this line. These were just mistakes that I made while I was making the model. So now I should be able to do a Solid Inspector. And Solid Inspector 1 looks good. So I'm going to edit, unhide all. Orbit back around where I can see the whole building, and then I'm going to do Solid Inspector 2, and it says 3 nested instances. So I'm going to explode the bottom and delete it, and I'm going to do Solid Inspector again. 1 reverse face, 1 nested instance. So I'm going to fix all, and it will fix the reverse face, and then there'll be 2 nested instances that we'll take care of in a minute. So now if I triple click and make this a group, I can then right click and get entity info, and you'll notice here that it says solid group, 1 in model. So that means this is printable. It's 100% solid. Okay, and that's what you need to do to get every model printable. So you'll get used to orbiting inside the building and dealing with finding out where those problems were using Solid Inspector 1 and Solid Inspector 2. If you forget where those are, you can go back to the first video and find out how to download them from the extension warehouse, which is right there. So now that we have this a group, we've made it a group, I'm going to add a side of the building. So here's another group that I made that we're going to check the entity info here. This is also a solid group. We don't have to do anything to fix this, but this actually goes on this model. So I'm going to use the Move tool, and I'm going to attach it to this model. From here, if I were to explode everything, we'd have to go inside the building and hollow out where these 2 buildings attach. But using SketchUp Pro, we can merge these two together using the solid tools. So we're going to union these two pieces, and we have our first piece and our second piece. So we group those together, it makes one solid group. We check the entity info, solid group 1 in model. So this whole building is now printable.